Over the next 8 weeks, we're going to have the marketing, we're going to have the resources, we're going to talk about the money. And so when we say game on, that means you're ready to take your business to the next level. Bring your actual business plan in. Where do you want to go?
We came up with a plan to keep all of our commitments.
Show me the money. How many customers do you want to have? How much money do you want to make? Do you want to buy a building?
People are really scared of starting a website, but the website is everything.
Viagra spends millions of dollars marketing.
What people buy into in your brand.
There are resources available.
Trying to match people with what it is that they need.
LinkedIn relationships matter.
We like to know who we're buying from and who we're doing business with.
We have 8 weeks. Ready, set, go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to week 6. It's amazing how fast the time has flown by into our Boss Women Entrepreneurship Training Program. It's going really well. I hear a lot of great comments and feedback from everybody, and I want to just each week just thank you very much for joining us. Because I had a conversation with someone today, a meeting with someone today, and we talked about the importance of women power and Black women advancing and continuing to grow. And very thrilled to have each and every one of you here. So normally I like to do a little shout out. We have a very special guest speaker today. I can't wait to introduce her to you proper. We have Claire. Hello, Claire. How are you? Hello, Frances. Monique, good to see you. Hetty, good to see you. Francesca. Hello, darlings. Dorian. Hi, Nandi. Adiola, good to have you on. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Always excited to continue to build and collaborate together. As always, I introduce myself, Nadine Spencer. I'm Nana to the awesome Nola, and I really should have a photo. Maybe Daniel will share to you with on the next end because we're coming out of the shoot, a photo of my awesome Nola, CEO of Brandy Q Agency, president of the Black Business and Professional Association, the organization that brings us to you in partnership, of course, with the Women Entrepreneur Knowledge Hub, Ryerson University, the Diversity Institute, and of course, it's also supported. That organization is supported by the federal government, which makes this program very possible. So we're always very thankful. So today, my weekly inspiration is show up. I find that the thing that has helped me most in all areas of my business is showing up. Many times, if you don't show up, you will not get the opportunity. As Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 99% of the shots you don't take. And I find that from a business entrepreneurship perspective, when you run a business, you have to show up 110 times, because most of the opportunities that happens for women, for business women, is showing up. So, sometimes there's a lot of challenges around, you're late or you don't have the right plans or all of those things. But when you show up, everything takes care of itself. Everything works out. But if you're not in the room, if you're not there to participate, nothing will happen. So my weekly inspiration for this week is to show up. And, of course, over the previous weeks, we talked about, our business plans, our marketing plan, your brand, and being ready. And as we talk about us boss women, we're brilliant, outstanding, strategic, and very successful. We talked about last week about rewriting this, our acronym for BOSS. So if you have anything in terms of these letters, put them into the chat and we will have them up next week. Today's session is about resources. Resources is such an important part of building our business. The right resources will take us very far. The lack of resources will keep us stagnant. It's important to always have a repository of resources. And at the end of this, we're going to talk a little bit about those technology resources, marketing resources, building resources, tax resources. There's a host of different things that we can use to help us grow and advance our business. And all of these things, as we build and work with them, it helps to understand where we are, what we need to do, what's missing, and those resources will help us to solidify all the things we talked about in our plans. So today we have a guest speaker, And our guest speaker is an incredible individual because she really champions the way for women entrepreneurs with the study, with the research, and the resource. I would say she's the resource queen in terms of what she brings together for women businesses. So we have today Wendy Souquier, professor of entrepreneurship and strategy at the Ted Rogers School of Management at Ryerson University. Wendy is, I could read her bio, but I want to talk to you a little bit about who she is. She's truly a champion for, women, and I would say Black women. I was in a conversation on a talk with Wendy a few weeks ago, or maybe it's a month ago, and she talked about, I think it was the Humanity Initiative. We had a talk on equity and race. And she made the comment that, I get asked to be on a lot of boards, and when I'm asked, as in Wendy, she says, have you asked a woman, have you asked a Black woman, have you really looked to have true diversity and inclusion in your organization? And I think, and that's what a champion is. That's truly what a champion is. It's someone that is in the space, that recognizes that there is a gap, that there's people missing, and that speaks up and advocates for that individual who's not at the table. And so it is really my honor, and Wendy is a true friend. Another quick story about Wendy. 2 years ago, we were having the Black History, the Women's Month event. And as it goes with funding, sometimes we're a little bit short, and I send an email that says, help from a friend. And I sort of listed, we would love your help in this area, and Wendy just stepped up to the plate. So this is who we have in our corner, and it gives me great privilege to introduce our speaker tonight, Dr. Wendy Souquier.
Thanks so much, Nadine, and it's great to be here, and it's also great to meet all of you because I know right now is a particularly challenging time for entrepreneurs generally, for women specifically, and certainly for Black women in particular. And the fact that you do show up, I think, is a real testament to your grit and your tenacity. So I really want to congratulate all of you. Also, the folks at the Diversity Institute prepared a presentation for me, and let me just see if I do this all the time, right? I'm on Zoom most of my life, and yet every time I try to actually use it, it doesn't do what I want. But let's see if I can get this up. So my team prepared a PowerPoint because, and quite honestly, the PowerPoint's less for you than it is for me, because I have a hard time staying on track unless I have a PowerPoint presentation. But it occurred to me when I was sort of going through this and getting ready, and I think they sent me 63 slides or something. I was thinking about resources and what I could offer you. And I can offer you this information. I can give you the links to other resources, but probably the most valuable resource I can offer you is me. And so what I wanted to do was spend a bit of time kind of going through at a high level what's in this presentation, and then I can give it to Nadine, and she can circulate it. But then what I really wanted to do was spend the bulk of my time hearing from you. And we've just developed a new platform that's called the Ask Give platform. You sign up. There are about 450 or 500 women, I think, there so far. And you ask for what you need. And one of the things that's so interesting, and you offer what you can give. And one of the things that I find so interesting about working with women in all walks of life is women are very capable of offering to help, and they're almost incapable of asking for what they need. So what I really wanted to spend our time tonight doing was going around the virtual room and getting you, to do your pitch, like what is it that you're currently doing and what is it that you need in order to be successful. And I will take notes and I will go away and I will see what I can come up with. But then I would like all of you to go on the Ask Give platform and make the same request of the 400 women are there, because the connections that you can sometimes generate simply by stating clearly what it is you need to be successful, I think can be far more valuable than me giving you a bunch of websites where you can go for different kinds of funding, although I will give you that as well. So I just wanted to, I didn't check with Nadine in advance if this was okay, but I really did feel a bit like I would rather not talk to you the whole time, but rather listen to what it is that I might be able to do to help you. So we've put together sort of a package of resources that range from online learning, because I know that this is an incredibly valuable set of experiences you're getting, but there may be things you want to do a deeper dive into. We've been running some workshops, for example, on when to incorporate or not incorporate. There are things online that will help you develop business cases, funding proposals, marketing plans, whatever. So we put some of that stuff together. I will run through some of the financing options, although I think you've probably heard something about those, some of the resources we have at WEC and so on. But as I said, what I think is most useful is if we spend our time with you telling me what you need, and I will think about what I might be able to do to help. So in terms of online resources, there's a ton of stuff that is available to help support entrepreneurs generally, and some of the materials are specifically for women, though not a lot of them. So, we'll give you the links to all this stuff. Futurepreneur is a great source. Business Development Canada, great source. You can see that Ontario has sources. You can get online materials free of charge through Coursera, the Chambers of Commerce, and so on, and so on, and so on. Refer you to the second from the bottom one, Financing Business Guide from FedDev Ontario. That will tell you where the money is, which for many entrepreneurs is the critical thing. And on it goes. So I'm not going to talk through all this stuff other than to say there is a ton of stuff available, and lots of other resources. Then when we come to funding, and Nadine, have you walked through sources of funding in any of the previous sessions? Okay, so depending where you are in your entrepreneurship journey, whether you're, just starting out, whether you've been in business for a while, there are different places that you go for different kinds of money. And most of us, and this is true of me as well, many of us set up services-oriented businesses. Like I've run a consulting firm now for, I think, 30 years, never bothered incorporating. It was always a side gig. I mean, I think a couple of years I consulted full-time, but mostly it's been a side gig. And so some years, I'll make $70,000 and some years I'll make $6,000. I have a full-time job, so it really doesn't matter. And I've never had to go for external funding because consulting just relies on me doing the work, collecting the money, and I have almost no expenses other than, I have to have a computer and internet and stuff like that. And there are lots of businesses, services-oriented businesses, where your ongoing costs are not that high, so you probably can self-finance, or you can finance it through internally generated funds, through your revenues, through your services, and so on. You might then reach a stage where you want to rent space or where you have to invest in inventory, and you may therefore require access to other kinds of funding. It could be a grant. There are some government grants that are available to help people grow their businesses, and there are loans. If you're a tech company, you might have an opportunity to attract angel investors early on in the process. Very few businesses in the services sector are able to attract angel investing. I mean, in fact, one of the jokes I often make is that we all talk about tech. Everybody's talking about how Shopify is now the most valuable company in Canada. It's surpassed RBC. Yet, when we talk about digital entrepreneurs, we don't talk about, we think about Bill Gates, we think about Steve Jobs, we think about Elon Musk, and so on. We don't think about Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner became a billionaire at the age of 20 using Canada's Shopify platform to sell her goop, right? She would never in a million years have been able to attract angel investors or VC investments because she was basically selling products and services rather than technology. So for most women who are not in the tech sector, angel investors and venture capitalists are probably not on the table, although in some instances, if you have hard assets, you're buying a building or you're building a restaurant or you're constructing something that has tangible value, you may be able to attract other investors early in the process. Crowdfunding is a really interesting, relatively new approach to financing startups. And I can't see your hands, unfortunately, but when we go around the room, you can tell me if any of you have tried crowdfunding. So there are different kinds of crowdfunding. Indiegogo and some of those are examples. Typically, crowdfunding processes work in one of two ways. One is you say, I need $5,000, I need $50,000, I need $100,000 in order to do this new business. And some of the crowdfunding platforms will just allow you to use that to raise money, and they will take a portion of the money that you raise. So if you have a really good pitch, you have a really good outreach strategy, you can add up enough money to actually do something. On the other hand, there are other kinds of crowdfunding platforms where you set a target, and your target may be $50,000. If you raise $45,000, they keep money, you get nothing. If you exceed $50,000, you get to keep the money. So all crowdfunding platforms are not exactly the same. ATB out of Alberta ran a crowdfunding, a rewards-based crowdfunding platform. So the rewards-based platforms will say, I'm making designer masks. I need to raise $100,000. If you give me $30, I will send you one of my first limited edition masks. And so it's like a pre-buying of benefits for the future. That's usually how we think about crowdfunding. As I said, with angel investors and venture capital, they're typically buying a share or a piece of your company in exchange for giving you money to spend to grow your business. Incubators and accelerators are really interesting because there are a lot of them. And in fact, I think BBPA has one that's targeting, if I'm not mistaken, youth. Is that right? Nadine, you've got one targeting youth. And incubators and accelerators may provide they may provide funding, or they may provide tangible assets like space and services, shared marketing, access to seed funding, expertise, mentoring, et cetera, et cetera. Usually with incubators and accelerators, there's a competitive process to come in, and it's for a limited time. It might be 4 months, 6 months, or whatever. There's some in Canada, there's some in the United States that will accept Canadians, but there's a combination of tangible and intangible resources that incubators and accelerators offer. Again, one of the big problems we've seen with incubators and accelerators is they tend to be really biased towards technology companies, and often that excludes women. On the other hand, there are some that have emerged. For example, some of you may know Foodpreneur, which is an incubator that is specifically targeting startup companies in the food space. So they have community kitchen, they have packaging, they have a bunch of resources to help food-based companies grow. Government grants, increasingly, especially during COVID time, there are a lot of grants that have become available. Often they have strings attached to them. Often you have to meet certain revenue targets. I've sent Nadine a number of ones that are available that are, for example, designed for businesses that have lost money through COVID. There's another one that just came out that I just saw that's basically $5,000 to cover COVID-related costs for women-based businesses. So there are a lot of government grant programs. There are programs available through Export Development Canada, for example, where you can apply for funding in order to do an international market assessment. So for example, if you think your business is one that should be exploring opportunities to sell in the United States or Czechoslovakia or Japan, you can get grants to help you do that market assessment. In the current environment, of course, nobody's traveling, but you can get grants that will help you make a trip to another country to check out what the opportunities are. And in fact, the Government of Canada has many trade missions where they invite companies to come along, and some of those are specifically targeting women, and some of those have funding to actually support your costs of going to the United States or Czechoslovakia or Japan. So understanding the space in terms of government grants, I would say, is one of my areas of expertise. There are grants to help you do research. There are grants that will allow you to hire summer students. One of my favorite programs, for example, right now is called I think it's the Student Workplace something, Work Experience something program, SWIP. And they will pay up to $7,500 out of $10,000 to allow a company to hire a student, which means effectively, if you've got $2,500, you can hire a full-time student. Could be a graduate student, could be an engineer, could be a computer science student to build your infrastructure for 4 months, work full-time at, all of this stuff requires paperwork. It's annoying, but the fact is, it's money. There are government grants. I used to be a vice president of research and innovation. There are government grants that will pay for you to do market research. Often it requires you to invest some money, and then they will match it with equivalent money. There are government grants to refund you for certain kinds of expenses that are associated with doing research and development and so on. So the government grant space is often very complex and paperwork intensive. but there's money there to be had, and that's, you know, something that we'd be happy to help you navigate. Loans are really, in my view, an important form of financing, and what we find is a lot of women are very proud of the fact that they are self-financing. I actually don't think you should be proud of the fact that you're self-financing. It's far better to use other people's money, especially when the interest rates are low, in order to grow your own business. The government currently has, for example, a grant loan combination where you could get $40,000 for COVID-related expenses. 10,000 of it is forgivable. So what does that mean? That means you get a loan for $40,000, you put it in the bank, you spend 10, you pay it back, you pay back 30, and you're $10,000 ahead. You have to meet certain criteria in order to be eligible for that. But for me, it's like free money. Why would you not take it, use it, and pay it back in the year and a half later when it becomes due? So one of the things we see is a lot of women are really adverse to taking on debt. But when you're growing a business, often that is penny wise, pound foolish, because often if you can get the investment up front, you can grow your business much more quickly. And I see it in my own case where, you know, as soon as I started hiring full-time staff, I could get more money, which meant I could grow more, and almost exponentially the business took off. But if you're trying to do everything yourself, you often hit a ceiling very quickly. At this point, I would also mention, and I'm sure this has come up in the discussions, that one of the things that women entrepreneurs really need to think about seriously is whether or not to incorporate. Incorporation often looks complicated, but the fact is, all incorporation is doing is separating your business from you. So if your business goes bankrupt, they will not take your house because it's your business. It's a separate entity. The reason why there are advantages to incorporating, even though it can cost you money, and even though it does increase the burden of record keeping and accounting and so on, is that there are many forms of government grants that are only accessible to businesses that are incorporated. It's very important, whether you're incorporated or not, to make sure that you have business bank accounts set up in the name of your business, even if your business is, you know, Wendy Sucure Consulting, because what that does is establish a track record with your financial institution for your business. So making sure that you've got not just the kind of smarts around how to manage your money, but making sure that you've got these processes in place that help separate your business and your business finances from your personal finances. Even if you end up self-financing, even if you're taking some of the money that you earn, putting it into your business, you want to have those firewalls that really differentiate your personal finances, you know, the bank account where you're paying your rent and your heating and your food from your business account and your business expenses. Even if you're transferring money, you're paying yourself a salary, or you're subsidizing the business account in part from your personal income. Very important. Similarly with credit cards, you know, if you're going to be using credit cards to help finance your business, get the credit card in the business name, not your personal name, because you want to treat your business like a separate entity. You don't want too much intermingling of your personal finances and your business finances, not just for the purposes of record keeping, but also to protect yourself. And I've seen too many people who, you know, and in some ways I'm one of them, where you let them all get muddled up thinking, oh, at the end of the year, I'll go through the shoebox and I'll put the things that are business related in one side and I'll put my personal expenses on the other. But the problem is if you do that, you're going to miss opportunities to write off expenses, to minimize your taxes and so on. So I see a lot of the issues around funding as very tied as well to strong financial management and making sure that you've got those things in place. And then, of course, as you grow, you can start to look at attracting other investments and stocks and so on. And so, we put together a bunch of information about all of these different things and when they work and when they don't, and the kinds of money that you're likely to be able to attract at different levels, and it's highly variable. But one of the first things that any small business or entrepreneur needs to do is establish a relationship with your financial institution and make sure that they understand what your business is about and they're looking for ways to help you. Again, there's no point in going through all of this stuff, but I think that it's important to understand at what level you have to be in order to access different levels of funding. So for some sources, you have to have a minimum of $50,000 in revenue. Like some years I'm over $50,000 in my business, some years I'm not. So a lot of these things don't apply to me. In some instances, it's obvious that you need a lot more money, but many of the financial instruments that are available assume that you're already making some revenue. And one of the hardest places to get funding is what I would call pre-revenue. So it's that first $5,000 to buy some inventory, or that first $5,000 to hire somebody to help build your website. And that's one of the things that we're working really hard on is microfinancing, finding those initial $5,000 grants for women entrepreneurs. Sometimes you have to enter a competition, right? Sometimes you have to, go to a hackathon. Sometimes you have to send in your business plan or whatever. But for a lot of businesses, it's that first $5,000 that's really going to set you on your way. And so, as I said, one of the things we're really committed to is trying to find sources of funding for those initial investments to help women get their businesses going. And this is just a whole bunch of other background stuff. Nadine mentioned the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. I'd really encourage you to visit us. And I really, really, really want you to join the Ask Give platform. And I want you all to commit to signing up and posting an ask in the next few days. So go on the website, go to the Ask Give platform, sign up, register, and ask for something that you need. And it may be, I need $5,000 to start my business. This is what my business is. But I'm asking that you please do that. And we have a lot of other resources that are available through the hub. I'm putting together, as I said, links to all of these other things that will help you sort through what some of the options might be, because really, if you look around, you'll find, I think that there's probably more money than you know about that's available. There are probably more resources around than you know about. And, one of our big areas of focus is trying to match people with, who need things with what it is that they need. So I want to stop at this point, and open it up both for questions, but also to learn more about what you need so that I can go away and do some homework and try to help find resources that you require to make you successful. So first off, I'll take questions, and then some brave souls can tell me what they need.
Thank you, Wendy.
Wendy, thank you so much. Everyone, this is a great opportunity. When have we ever been asked, tell us what you want, you know? So take advantage of this and definitely put your questions to Wendy, because as you can see, she has a lot of resources, a lot of connections as well. And, you know, Wendy, the deck is incredible. I'm looking forward to having this as a resource for the women, because there's a lot of great information there. I want to start off with one question that I did get before, and then you can just jump right in. Everybody put your hand up and you will.
Nadine, I'm not sure what's up with your mic, but it sounds funny. Yeah.
Darth Vader, we might say. You sound.
Okay, so we have a few questions in the chat, so I'm just going to read them out. This one is from Danielle, and it says, when you set your business to self-finance, is there a point where you pay back yourself for that investment?
So that's a really good question, and it really depends on how you've structured your business. So if you're like me and you're just self-employed, I can pay myself back anytime I want, right? I want some money to pay my credit card, I can go into my business account and pay myself, because that's one of the advantages when you're self-employed as opposed to having a separate business. On the other hand, if you have an incorporated business, it requires more of a paper trail. So there has to be some established boundaries around, you know, I get paid a salary for doing these things. I get paid per hour. I get dividends, and you would structure that. You would structure that more formally. If that answers your question.
Yes, this is Cynthia, and she's mentioning what she needs, just following up with what you, with your statement earlier. And she's saying that she would love for someone to review her budget forecast and help her decide on what to infuse in her business.
I will volunteer to take care of that.
Cynthia, look at you. You already have that. Yay.
And it probably won't be me. I'll find someone who actually knows things to do it.
Okay, and we have another ask from Francesca, and her ask is for someone to review her business plan and access to startup funding opportunities. That's her ask. Just taking notes of these as well. And
I posted my email in the chat early on. First, I posted the wrong email because I don't know how to spell my last name, and then I posted the right email. But what I would invite every one of you to do is just email me what it is you would like, and then the deal is you also go on the Ask Give platform and post the same thing.
Awesome. OVA's asking, how does paying yourself for an incorporated nonprofit work?
So think of an incorporated nonprofit as a separate entity. So just separate yourself from it and say, okay, if I have a job at that incorporated nonprofit, what is the job? How much money am I going to be paid? And you treat it as if you were arm's length from the organization. It might be that you can't pay. You might say, okay, I'm the CEO of my new nonprofit, and I'm going to earn $100,000 a year. It may be that you don't have $100,000 to pay yourself, but you still formalize that in your budget so that it becomes aspirational, but you need to track it. If it's an incorporated company or nonprofit, you can't just take money out. Like I run an NGO. I have an accountant. I'm prohibited as the president of taking any for my time, but I am entitled to get money for my expenses, for example, for travel, for other things. Accountant, I give her my expenses. She gives me the money. I have a second signing authority on every check. so that I can document very clearly where the money went, unlike the Kielburgers. Just saying.
Awesome. We have Marie asking how easy it is to get a micro loan and what the payback structure is. I think you already spoke to that.
Right now, it's very hard to get them, but one of the things we're working with BDC on is a business case because, you know, some of you may know in emerging economies, microloans are very common. There's a lot of research done on how effective they are in other countries and how women pay them back, et cetera, et cetera. For whatever reason, we haven't done much with them in Canada. But we're working with some of the credit unions in BDC to try to get those made available. I think in the short term, like if somebody needs a microloan tomorrow, depending on whether it's 5 or 15, if you identify what the requirements are, we can try to source something.
Awesome. Nadine Martin is asking to speak to someone in the kitchen and bath industry to find out the ins and outs of how that industry runs. That's
So
her ask.
So to me, kitchen and bath are potentially two different things, but we have a group of women who are very experienced in what I would call health and beauty. So it depends a little bit on are you making products like utensils and plastic containers and garbage cans, or are you making bath bombs and essential oils and soaps? Those are kind of two different industries, but again, we can connect you with folks.
Awesome. Ovi again is asking, can you help Canadian Black Nurses Alliance navigate funding and grants for nonprofit entity? She found that Paro and others support for-profit entities.
I love nurses, so yes, indeed, I will.
Doreen is asking, she needs help developing her business plan, especially her budget, and finding microfinancing to fund her website and initial marketing.
So for funding a website, again, I will definitely help you, but the City of Toronto has a free service to build websites for small businesses. Digital Main Street, you can actually get you can get the support. But again, happy to connect you.
We have a ton of questions. Grace wants you to explain how angel investor funding works. What are the requirements, and are a lot of women successful in that area?
No, women are not successful in that area. In fact, angel investors invest in men 6 times as much as they invest in women. And there's lots of research that shows that if a woman gives exactly the same pitch as a man, she's far less likely to get funding. However, angel investors often populate incubators, accelerators. There is a Canada Angel Investors Network that we work with. You really have to have a business plan and a case that looks like it's going to be high growth and highly profitable, because they're completely self-interested. So they're giving you money so they can make money. So if you have the right kind of business opportunity, you can potentially access that funding. But I would say it's difficult. It's difficult for women, and it's particularly difficult for Black women. At the same time, in recent years, there are special funds that are being created. And so again, you know, if we know what you need, we can do our best to try to help find you support.
Awesome. Dorian needs help finding a testing center to provide minimal testing to establish shelf stability and safety. I believe that's for a product.
That is something that I don't know anything about, but is it food or is it cosmetics or something? What is the product?
Dorian, what is the product? It's cosmetics.
It's cosmetics. I personally don't know anything, but again, if we add it to my list, I'm happy to try to find something. So email me. I know a couple of people in the cosmetics industry that might have that information for.
Awesome. Holden is she's referring to something that you spoke about earlier. You talked about a platform that Kylie Jenner and others used, and it is Canadian based. Can you share the name again?
Shopify. And again,
Shopify.
if we can get, and I'll make sure Nadine has it. The City of Toronto has partnered with Shopify on something they're calling, I think, Digital Main Street.
Right.
Digital Main Street will provide free support to entrepreneurs who need to develop a platform for selling their products. So Shopify is like eBay, right? Only you get your own little place where you can run your virtual shop. And there's a lot of money that's been put into this project by the government to help entrepreneurs transition, especially during COVID, to e-tailing, to online sales. So you can get a lot of free help to set up those platforms. And again, that's something we can connect with.
Awesome. Sue is saying that for some entrepreneurs, the cost of trademark names, logos, and all is prohibitive. And a few people that she knows have chosen not to. She's looking into trademarking her business name and logo. What advice do you have on this topic?
So good question, because protecting your IP is super important. One of the things that we might be able to, I can't promise, but a lot of the incubators and accelerators have law firms that provide pro bono support for exactly those sorts of activities. And so, again, perhaps through the Digital Media Zone, perhaps through just our informal connections with some of the law firms, we could ask specifically for some donated support to help any of the boss women trademark or protect their IP. Again, send me email. I'm adding it to my list.
Thank you, Wendy. This is awesome.
Thank you, Wendy. Kaden is asking to speak to someone who could teach her how to grow her online business presence through marketing her products online.
So I think that's a toughie, and that's something that all of us struggle with a little bit, at least people my age do. I think it's possible that Digital Main Street, which is providing free student advice, might be a really good resource for that. So even if you've already got a platform, they may be able to provide someone to come in and help advise you on how to grow it. So I think that's probably where I would go initially. If you have any money available, you can hire your own student out of a social media program or something, because I find kids my daughter's age are far more my daughter's always saying things like, "Mom, don't post on LinkedIn, you don't know how it works," and vetoing stuff that I'm doing in social media. You hire a 20-something for a couple of months, they can often work wonders. So
30-somethings too, Wendy, and 40-somethings and 50-somethings.
Maybe, but in my experience, it's the kidlets. And the thing is, there are lots of programs that will subsidize the hiring of someone under the age of 30. And as you know, Nadine, I'm very preoccupied with trying to find jobs for kids.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Janelle wants help developing a business plan and accessing startup funding for a website and social media.
So again, I think starting point, and Dean, I don't know if you've got any, if you know the Digital Main Street people, but why don't we try to set up a session, maybe an optional session specifically with them to come in and explain exactly what they'll do and deal with everybody all at once.
Yeah. Oh,
There's a
yes.
lot of money that's been invested in that.
Absolutely. That's going to be that's also in this session. Not just Digital Main Street, but the City of Toronto also has a program called the Retail Accelerator, which gives a $5,000 grant to, ladies, we talked about bricks and mortar last week, to a retail store business. So that's another resource that's available. So we'll talk through all of that. The key to all of this, though, all of these resources, is that we have to be ready. So the business plans, and I see you're all asking Wendy for business plan advice as well, but maybe we need a session where we can just be a hands-on and work through your business plan. One of the things we've recognized is that it still needs more. We were on for 8 weeks, but there's so much more that we need to deep dive into as we work to build the women's businesses.
And the other thing I'll say on business plans, and this is something that women sometimes struggle with a bit. The best advice on your business plan is the toughest, right? So, I'm not your mom, I'm not your BFF, and I'm not your sister. If I'm reviewing your business plan, I'm going to be as tough as I possibly can, but with the intention of helping you do a better job. And I do think that I have a hard time kind of navigating between giving people the straight goods and the tough love, and encouraging and supporting them. And so if you come to me, you're probably not going to feel the love, but you'll get tough advice.
That's also love. Doreen is asking if Digital Main Street is available for people that are outside of Toronto because she lives in BC.
Yes. Yes, they've extended it with some additional federal funding, so it's now available across the country.
All right. I think that's all the questions we have right now. Yes. Thank you so much, Wendy.
No, my pleasure. And like I said, I love Nadine. I love BBPA. I think this is one of the most exciting things we've had a chance to do. And I'm very grateful to all of you for sticking it out, because I know it's not been easy. And so I am personally committed to doing anything I can within my sphere of influence to help you be successful.
That's amazing. Thank you
so much. Thank you very, very much. And again, we thank you for championing this and your support through your organization, the Women Knowledge Hub, to put this program on that's so very, very needed. So we hope to continue the journey, but thank you so very much.
And thank you, and I hope to see you all again.
Absolutely.
I see a number of us asking for Wendy's email. I will share it in just a few seconds. So don't worry. Even if she's leaving, I have her email. I'll share the email.
No, I'm serious. Like I can't necessarily give you everything you want, but I will do my best to connect you all with people who might be able to help. But go to the Ask Give platform, because I think that will give you access to women across the country who will have in-depth understanding of specific sectors and businesses and so on. So I think it's going to be a really important resource. So with that, thank you so much for including me.
Thank you. We'll see you again. Take care, Wendy. Bye-bye. Clap, clap, clap. Snap, snap, snap. Awesome. Okay, everyone, that was an awesome session. Awesome session. We will have the resources that Wendy has talked about. And, you know, she mentioned quite a few of the ones that we were going to champion. The Digital Main Street is huge. There was a $2,500 grant, and I'm not sure if it's used up as yet, but what it does is if you sit through an online program platform for about, I think, 30 minutes to an hour, which marketing your business, which is important, you get a $2,500 grant from the city. The next program we talked about is Digital Main Street. Definitely check that out. What we'll try to do is see if we can get a speaker to come from those areas to come and talk to us about more, to give more information on that. I have a sneeze coming, so excuse me for a second.
It's all right. So thank you so much, everyone, for engaging and for staying, engaging Wendy and asking all of your questions, and just speak to a few other slides that we have for you. And then Danielle will come up right after in a few minutes to, just share some other content with us as well. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure, of course.
I just wanted to know if you're already using WordPress, can you still get the support from Main Street?
I believe I'm not Wendy, so I don't have all that detail with Digital Main Street. But in terms of WordPress, I know that WordPress is a free platform. I've used it before. But if you are receiving, I imagine that if you're receiving funds to build a website, you would want to see that it's an architecture or a structure that is actually being, paid for as well. But I might not be correct, but I imagine when I'm thinking about it in my head, if I'm on the other side, I also want to see that you're asking for funds for website, then you should be using it for, something that is not a free platform, for instance, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
So sorry to interrupt. So I actually took the Digital Mainstream and they did build my website. And so I could give you guys a little bit of insight to what they do offer.
Mm-hmm.
They prefer the Shopify platform because Shopify, it's one of the partners that they're working with. And what they do is they work through over a few weeks of talking out what you want for your website. And after the website's built, they kind of teach you a little bit about ads in terms of Facebook and Instagram and Google. And they also provide you with those credits. So you'll receive some credits to kind of get you started with advertising. So those are the two things that I have received from them so far. But in terms of the platform, it would be Shopify.
Yeah, because thank you so much for sharing that. Because of course, they're championing this, and your Shopify really has looking to invest in participating in women entrepreneurs and Black businesses, but they're really expanding their platform. But what's interesting about they're keen to do this kind of work, but it's another way of advertising. When we talked, there's so much to unpack in this program. But one of the ways businesses advertise, they find different ways, and that the way Shopify promotes with these programs is another way of using their ad dollars to advertise, but in another way. And I find the best way to market your product is to get it in people's hands, get it in their faces. I remembered when I had a food company, we gave a lot of free products because you could pay $2,500 for an ad in a magazine where nobody sees the product. Like they see it, but they're not connecting with it, or you can give out samples. And the best way was that once they had the samples, then they were committed, more so than in a magazine. So there's different ways of gaining market share and promoting your product. And so the Shopify example is one of them, but there's myriads of ways. As we build a program and we do workshops, we will certainly do more of a deep dive into all these things in different sessions, but that's one way.
Awesome. I hope that answers your question, Ovie. Okay. Yes, I was just going ahead to share screen. Can we all see my screen?
Not yet.
Hmm. Oh, it's not still not showing?
No, but it says you're the host though, so you should be able to.
Yeah, because I can.
Well, you know
It's
what? Do you want
sharing
me to share
here.
mine? I'll share mine and you can just talk through it. I'll share mine
Okay.
because the PowerPoint's open and you can just talk through it. Sounds good? Ooh. Ooh. So I will. Okay, on this slide, Uju, there we go. Go ahead, Uju.
Okay. So yes, Wendy did an amazing and fantastic job just, walking us through funding and the different avenues to funding, because when it comes to a business, whether starting up or, just continuing in the lifetime of our business, funding is such a critical piece. And so it was great that she shared all of those resources, whether venture capitalists or angel investors or even family and friends or savings or grants and different ways that you can get funding. It's very important. But I like to also add different resources and different tools that are very, very critical to the success of your business. And one of them is human resource. There's a research that I read a couple of months ago where a huge sample size of CEOs in the US were asked about the challenges that they faced when they were starting up their business, and 67% of them said that their biggest challenge was finding the right resource or the right talent to plug into the success of their business. So when it comes to really succeeding in your business, you want to be very careful to hire the right team, the right hands, the experienced hands in whatever roles or whatever sector of your business that you want to plug. Also invest in the development of your team, whether it's a marketing executive, invest in courses or free courses that they could get onto it, because the more developed they are, the more developed and progressive your business would be. Also, you want to leverage referrals and past networks as well to really dig deep into different networks and hire the right hands or the right resources, the right human resources for the success of your team. And you want to be able to identify the fact that they are forward thinking, they are innovative also, just so that, we reduce that stats where people are experiencing a lot of challenge with picking the right resource to really excel with their business. On next slide.
Go to advance, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide because Wendy really, really did a deep dive into finance and into funding. But generally, when it comes to running your business, whether it's a startup or you've existed for quite a while, financial resources is super key. It's super huge. And so you want to explore all avenues. And you also always want to keep your ears on the ground to know, which grants are coming up, which funding is coming up. I mean, if you were not on this live today, you probably wouldn't have heard about Digital Main Street. So you always want to keep your ears on the ground to know which avenues are available for you to get the most help in terms of funding. You want to also be very you want to be very consistent in streamlining your expenses, just so that even when you do get the grants or you do get the loans, you are targeting them to the areas of needs. You're identifying your needs to have and your must-haves, so that you're being very and
Uju?
is that moving? Next slide.
Okay.
Did you skip to the next slide?
Yeah, no, this is it here.
Okay, awesome, because I couldn't see it. All right, and so the next thing that we want to be sure that we have locks down is the industry know-how and industry expertise. So whether it's a tech startup or it's a hot dog stand, whatever your business is, you really want to be the best in the room. There's one actor that I particularly love, The Rock, and so whenever he would say that he might not be the most talented person, but he's the hardest worker in the room. And so when it comes to knowing what the industry trend is in the movie industry or in the action movies that he's always in, he knows like what is up to date. So he knows what is available today. And so he's not existing on yesterday's knowledge. He's always up to date. So just putting that into this scenario, you want to stay up to date on the trends, the news, and whatever it is that has to do with your particular business or your particular industry. You want to employ new trends whether it comes to operations or procurement or marketing, whatever it is. You want to employ the right and up-to-date technology to make sure that you're increasing productivity, increasing efficiency, reducing your operational cost, and in the long run, increasing your profits. And you also want to be deliberate about really doing research into your competition, because let's face it, business will most likely not be the last. Most industries you have
You're cutting off.
competition. So you want to, can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Continue to research your competition and not to do exactly what you do, what makes you stand out when it comes to industry know-how. And finally, the other resource, next slide, is really, oh, Hetty says I'm cutting off. I hope my network is better now. Another resource that you really want to make sure you have sorted out is, and most people really overlook this because they see it as the softer part of the journey, but it's really a very important part of the journey. And that's really creating that psychological safe space and safe net for yourself as the champion or as the leader in your business. You want to create that mentorship resource. So whether it's identifying people who have been longer in that industry that you can reach out to, and just so that it can give you directions on how to excel in your business. People usually say that experience is the best teacher. It's a great teacher, but I don't think it's the best, because I can leverage off the experience of other people. I don't have to make those same mistakes, right, to be able to excel. And so that's where the roles of mentors and sponsors come in. So you want to take out time. And as much as people see it as the softer part of a business, I would argue that is a very critical part. And then so you want to identify mentors in your industry, people who have gone ahead to do similar businesses, and then reach out to them, have coffee chats with them, find out what resources they used, find out what challenges they faced, how did they overcome those challenges. And so when you have those, and such that it's a very lonely space, especially as an entrepreneur. It could be very lonely, whether at day or at night. And so when you have that resource, you have, in addition to your family, it's easier, to navigate through that. So that's literally what I have for you today. And so I'm just going to segue and hand it over to Danielle, who's already and always ready to deliver to us. So Danielle.
Danielle, are you? Yeah, great. Danielle, do you want me to do you want to use your own screen? Do you want to share the screen yourself?
You're muted, Danielle. Yeah.
Yeah, I can share it myself. If
Okay,
you
so
can
I'll stop sharing it on my point. There we go.
Okay, I just need Uju for you to share it with me. In speaking about, resources and, coming to the table, prepared and ready, I was just going to go through just some of our photo shoot this past Thursday. I've gotten so many messages from a lot of you expressing interest in being a part of the next one. And I think that's absolutely, I'm so excited for it because I think it's just the best, networking opportunity for us. And then it's also going to be, an amazing opportunity for you guys to be getting great photos. And I was so happy with the turnout of a lot of them. So I just have a couple of them to show you, some of them that we still are in the process of getting them, finalized and touched up. But let me just share with you. Here we go. Okay, so let me go to present. So what's really great about discussing this is that we've already been able to, be with each other for a couple of weeks now and have discussions about putting our best foot forward, how to succeed in business. And, I think when we talk about modern day business, especially looking at Shopify, and looking at, like for e-commerce, and when we look at, like professional, like corporate work, the way we present ourselves is absolutely important. And, when we talk about resources, LinkedIn is huge, Instagram, huge, Facebook, there's a reason why social media has had such a come up over the last few years. And it's because, that connection when we're not together, it's so important. And, when we talk about business, especially now when we're moving into a new age of, this social distancing and quarantining, we really don't know how long this is going to be lasting for. So the ability to take advantage of these online resources and being able to conduct business from afar is really important. And, a part of that is great images. So going through some of them. So this is one of our clients who is at the shoot. So she owns a swimwear line, a luxury swimwear line called Vanity Couture. Now, when COVID hit, she had to, get on her tippy toes and think fast because nobody's going on vacation. Nobody's going to the beach. Who is wearing swimwear? It was just, business just took a rapid turn. And so she shifted and she started designing masks. There was a shortage in the city and she just said, let me just put my skills to work. And she pivoted. And that business has just completely taken off. And, when you think about masks, like they're so different from swimwear. And so these were the photos that she had before. And then in the work that she's doing now, she's had some work with the Breast Cancer Society, with the government in Alberta. And so she needed professional images. Now with that, like these were the photos that she had to work with. And she just said, these don't work for me. Like I can't be submitting these. I need something professional, but I do want it to reflect me. And I know that's something that we spoke about last week. I know somebody was saying, how do you tie your brand and your personality together? And should that even be a thing? Now, going back to what I was just saying about, social media and how, our connections are so important. This is why I feel like, having your personality connected to your brand can be so key and so good for, a strategy of branding. Now, when we look at this, and again, so she's a swimwear designer and she actually makes masks that have like Swarovski crystals on them. They're beautiful. Going to the next slide, so this is one of the photos that she had shot this last Thursday. Now, again, she is a fashion designer. And so what's really amazing about this photo is that, you see that she's strong, she's powerful, she's an entrepreneur, she's here to make her money, and nobody can test her. Nobody. She is here for business. And, that's exactly the images that we need to be putting forward. We need to be letting people know, I have a business and I am running it and I am running in this world alongside everybody else and I'm doing well. These are the photos that we need to be putting out. Again, so I had gotten some done myself because these were some of the images that I was working with before, having come in, from my background was in the cosmetic industry from before I came to Brand EQ. And so these are some of the images I had been working with from before. And then this was one of the images that I ended up taking this past Thursday. One of the common, notes I had to our photographer, and being the creative director on the set is there's something that I absolutely hate when it comes to photographers photographing women. And I'm not sure if any of you have really noticed, and whenever you, back in school when you were taking photos, or if you've been on a photo shoot, photographers will always tell women specifically to just tilt your head and smile. And I can't even tell you how much I've had to fight photographers in the past. with this, because you'll notice that when men are being photographed, that's never what they're told. You know, there's definitely a different dynamic when it comes to photographing women. And so, you know, the biggest thing that I love in photo shoots and getting these images is getting that personality out. What is it that differentiates you from your competitors? You know, anybody can buy a business, but what people buy into is your brand. Like, what is it that makes, you know, you specific, you dynamic? And, you know, that's why so many people put their faces on their business and why so many CEOs are so well known. It's because we like to know who we're buying from and who we're doing business with. And so those images are so important. And being able to capture good ones is definitely a rarity, but when you have them and they're good, oof. So some other ones that we have here. So this is another person who had come in, and she is an entrepreneur. She owns an accounting and a payroll company. And so what she wanted to translate was, you know, and she's a mom too. So part of her thing is that she's a mom, she's a female entrepreneur, and she does business. So that was what we were trying to capture here. We have the lovely Fran. Fran, I don't know if you see these, but how beautiful. I really hope my my Zoom thing isn't cutting her off, but I mean, this is what we need. Like, you know, Fran is here. She's here to do business. You know, she'll smile at you, but then she'll take your money real fast.
That's right.
That's what we want to see. That's how it should be. And, you know, I love these photos of Fran. I absolutely love them because, you know, you see these photos and she looks warm. She looks lovely. You want to be in the room with her, and then you meet her in person and it's the exact same thing, you know, but she'll get down to business, but she is warm and she's so kind and she's so delightful. And I love that just like, but mind you, with Fran, it doesn't not shine through for her.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you just want to write her the check, right? So Fran, how you share with us your experience and how do you like the photos?
I love it. I love that. I just want my red jacket back.
Yes. I have it.
All right.
Okay, I have to get that for you. And then, so yeah, moving into next one, we have Ovie. And so Ovie, she was in the Boss Woman, you know, program last week. I don't know if anybody remembers her diligently in the car from when the sun was up until it went down. And so we did the call because we had 3 spaces open. And so she came out and she joined us for the shoot. And I mean, let's just look at that. Like, this is a woman, exactly, just snaps, pauses. This is a woman who's here to do business. This is a woman who is here and she means it. And I love that.
Yeah, and OVA, go back one sec to OVAs. How did you like the shoot? Like, what were your thoughts? And all the photos we have of you, they're all fabulous. They're like all 100 that they took. I was hoping Danielle would have put more into the box, but they're all amazing.
I would have loved to, but honestly, then we would have just been looking at like 100-page slideshow of just our photos from this past Thursday.
Yes, okay.
It was an amazing photo shoot. I think everybody gave the opportunity to do it. I think the one piece that I was cognizant of and maybe a bit curious to see the result was to make sure that I conveyed an image that was welcoming, but seemed serious and also reflected nurses. Like, nurses are diverse. We're not all what people have labeled us as being throughout the centuries. So I wanted to also speak to me and speak to the company that we're building up is something that's going to have diverse nurses from different backgrounds. And you can basically associate yourself with anyone on the team that reflects you. So that was my biggest thing, is wanting to be able that I wasn't too serious, wasn't too closed off, and that they did look business and they looked professional.
And, you know, that translates. Like, I look at these photos and I didn't know you, and I do know you, and I'm like, let's go for lunch. Like, I want to hang out with this girl. You know, this is a woman who clearly is here and she means business. And that's another thing about your photos, is that it's not necessarily, you know, just to be bringing in people to, you know, buy into your businesses, your products, your services, whatever it is. Like, you want people who are going to look at you and say, I want to do business with that person. That person looks like they know what they're doing. You know, an investor, you want them to look at you and to be just thinking, this person, like, just based on their appearance, they look like they take their business seriously. if I'm really putting my money somewhere, it's going to be with somebody who takes their business seriously, because clearly they cannot mess around with their own money, can't mess around with mine. You know, you need to be, you know, having those images where it's like you are just saying, take me seriously. I'm here to be taken seriously. One of the next ones is Nadine. And so you Google Nadine Spencer, there are headshots, there are professional photos for days. And so what I really wanted was to capture something just a little bit different. You know, her boss pose is here in the middle. I mean, these are Nadine. When you see her in person, these are Nadine. You know, she's here, she means business, but I mean, that warmness, we could not knock it out of her on that day, regardless of how hard I tried. She is an absolutely like warm and welcoming, bubbly person. But if you hear her on a phone call, in a business call, it's just, whew, don't want to be near that. But otherwise, I mean, going into the next one, we have Uju. Uju just looks amazing.
Wow.
I mean, I hope my Zoom bubble isn't blocking her images out, but just wonderful. And like these photos, you know, they're going to go to Instagram, they're going to go to LinkedIn, they're going to go to Twitter, Facebook, they're going to be sent out in, you know, like press releases and articles used on websites. And so, you know, you can use these anywhere.
And I think what's great about
I had to throw in NOLA photos. I absolutely had to. I couldn't not. And then going into the next one. So again, to adding a pinch of personality. Now, corporate photos, they're good. Your professional photos, they're great. Now, I always love to get some behind the scenes photos and some, you know, like blooper type of images to be using like on Instagram and in social media and things like that. Now, to the one on the left, me, I'm a working mom. So I love this photo. You know, my daughter, she's there, she's with me on the set, she's in the photo, she's having fun. Love it. Now, what's great about this photo is that, you know, being a woman and being a working woman, you know, anybody else who's a female entrepreneur, it's like right there, there's a point of interest where it's like we have something in common. If you are also, you know, a working mom and you're, you know, juggling, you know, like work-life balances and things like that. Being able to give people something that they can also identify with is really, really important. The one on the right, so that was our makeup artist, Tiana. An amazing photo to be able for her to be able to use. And then even for Shantae, you know, a great photo to be able to, you know, this is what goes into business and to beauty and to the, you know, the fashion industry. These are the things that you definitely want to be putting out. Again, adding that pinch of personality. We have Fran here getting her makeup done, like beautiful. And then, you know, like,
kicking and screaming.
Yeah. And even your smiling photos, you know, if you're ever on set for a shoot, don't feel like you need to be like pose. Like you can have like, you know, those bits in the middle, and it's really important to have an amazing photographer who can capture your little moments where you have these little quirks coming out, because those can be really hard to capture, but they're amazing to have because again, it goes to that relating to on like a more personal level. Same thing. Now we have Alicia here. She's just on the far right. Again, you know, modern day powerful woman in business. You know, we have the one in the middle of Shantae. You know, she's not your typical corporate woman. She's here, she's in fashion, she's here to do business. Nadine, exact same thing. She'll smile, but she's very fierce in the boardroom, okay? So, you know, again, great photos. And then this is just going into one of the other ones, but yeah, so this is just to say, you know, the photos, they're so important. And I know, and I definitely just wanted to share these with you because a lot of you were inquiring with me as to getting yours done. And I definitely just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview as to what you can expect. And so, oh, sorry, I'm just reading the comments. So, you know, for those of you who emailed me and expressed interest, I'm going to be sharing an Eventbrite link with you. This one we're going to be creating specifically for the BBPA Boss Women. For those of you who are in attendance, so I'll have more details in terms of, you know, like date, pricing, you know, what's included and all that stuff. And I'll be able to send you an email about it by the end of this week. So definitely stay tuned. A lot of you have already emailed me. For those of you who haven't, I'm going to just drop my email again in the comment box right here. And when you come, please, 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 please bring your business cards. These are amazing ways to network. You know, when you get in touch with a makeup artists work with so many different people. Photographers, the exact same thing. When you come in and you check in with the people who are, you know, like at the office for the studio, amazing to drop in your business card. Any chance you have to give your business card to somebody, do it. This is why, you know, the minimum order for business cards is like 500 pieces. It's for you to be just like handing them out like candy on Halloween. It's supposed to be just, you know, getting your business into literally anybody's hand. That's definitely what you need to be doing, and just presenting yourself accordingly. And then as soon as you know, have these images to be able to use and to be connecting with people, you know, on LinkedIn and whatnot, then, you know, great opportunities. So I'll be able to send you, oh, I sent that to Nadine privately. Oops, I need to send that to everybody. Sorry, my email.
Yeah, and just before we close off, before Uju does the final closing, I wanted to say also, please email Nadine at BrandyQ or President at BBPA. Put in the subject line your brand audit. I did offer all of us as part of a mentorship, half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour on going over your brand audit. I did receive a few more. And so we're going to close off the brand audit by tonight. So if your brand audit is in by midnight tonight, then call and we'll set up that half an hour coaching on your brand audit. We'll review it, go over it, and give you some pointers as to where you could go next with your brand audit. But definitely send an email. We're going to have a Calendly link so you can book your time slot to have your 20 minutes to half an hour consultation on your brand audit. And we'd love to have that done before the program ends in another 2 weeks. Okay? Any questions? Is there any questions in the chat, Uju, that anyone has any questions that they want to ask before we sign off?
I'm just scrolling through them right now. Alicia had asked about a Shopify versus Etsy. Was that answered?
No.
No? Okay. When it comes to e-commerce, Shopify is amazing because they already have all the resources for you. You don't need to, you know, be getting backlinks and to be doing, you know, HTML encoding to be able to create your website. And so Shopify, I highly, highly recommend. Etsy is also a great one for more indie companies. What's great about Etsy is that it's already a platform that has a large following and user base. And so when somebody's looking for a product and they go in and they search it, it's a search engine literally that's targeting businesses like yours. And so the information and the products are already there. Whereas Shopify, you're kind of starting from scratch. Whereas, you know, that marketing and the social media and the advertising is incredibly important. Otherwise, you kind of remain obsolete and obscure. Whereas with Etsy, you do have the potential to be found by people if they're searching the proper criteria. So that's kind of the difference of those two.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't see any questions. Mostly just people, most of us are just highlighting the fact that they want to be part of the next photo shoot. And I see someone from BC wants a photo shoot. I don't know how that's going to happen, but
I'm so excited for the next one. I had so much fun at the one on Thursday. And, you know, even like, you know, meeting with Opie and getting to know, you know, a lot more about, you know, her business and what she's doing and where, you know, what direction she's trying to go. And I didn't get, you know, a lot of time to chat with you, but, you know, she was in the corner shooting and I was just like, Beyonce, who? Like, she here, she showed up, she showed out, and it was just so good. And it was just really fun. And, you know, I think the best thing about, you know, being in a room full of such powerful women and such determined, you know, individuals is that, you know, there's that incredibly annoying cliche about women that, you know, we're catty. We can't work together in business. We can't see each other succeed. And it's just, especially when you're in a room with, the women who I was with on Thursday, it's tacky, and it's just so not true. And so being around, other women who are just so supportive, and who just want to see you do well is just, it feels good, and it makes you know that, you do have a base, and you do have a support group of people who are there who want to see you do well. I'm sure everybody who comes to these sessions, you're all here, you're all determined, you all want to keep on going. Yeah, we're all more powerful together. So, if you have like LinkedIn's to be, dropping in the comments, do it. If you have, people who you want to be going out for lunches with, do it. I meet bi-weekly with a girlfriend of mine, and she's an entrepreneur as well. And we just sit for about 2 hours, and we just talk about current trends in our market, social media strategies that are coming up, tools and resources that are really important, how to be getting featured in publications and whatnot. So it's, don't be afraid to ask. I always say that the worst thing that somebody can tell you is no. But see, watch this. OVA, do you want to go for lunch next week?
Absolutely, I'm ready.
There you go. See, it's literally that easy. It's literally that easy. I already have your contact information, so I'll send you a message. But see, that's exactly what it is. The worst thing somebody can tell you is no, and so never be afraid to ask. So that's all I have to say. I'm done.
Love it. Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, everyone. It's been such an amazing session. I see someone is just joining us in the waiting room. That's sad.
Yeah. We won't even let them in because we definitely are going.
Yeah. But thank you. Someone's calling now.
Yeah, I'm just saying let's tell other people, because we still have a few weeks to go on the program. So let's bring a friend next week, and let's spread the word, because the information is valid, it's relevant, and we need more people to hear about this.
Exactly. And so, don't just sit on the information, just share it, and share the contacts or share the links with your friends. I always say invite a friend or two, because, we are, Nadine say, we're stronger together. We're not the only Black women in Canada. Like, the more we share, the more we encourage other people to be a part of this learning hub that we're creating, the better for all of us, So if one of us succeeds, we all succeed, right? So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I feel like every week we just get better, So this week better, last week better than the week before. So yeah, I'm really feeling it. With regards to a lot of us who have been saying you're interested in a branding shoot, please send Danielle an email or send me an email, and we'll just coordinate. We're looking to have a shoot in the first or second week in October. So the earlier you send an email, the better. And if you haven't done anything yet with your brand audit, please do so. You have till midnight to send it in. So, you want that 20 minutes with Nadine, trust me, take it to the bank. So please put that in. Please, like I said earlier, share the links and share the flyer with your friends if you're not here yet. We have 2 weeks to go. So thank you so much for staying on. We're 5 minutes overboard, but thank you. I appreciate you coming. I just saw one last message. I think I should read it. This is from Adiola, and she says, I'm 18 years old. Hearing all this today are making me dream bigger. Thank you for the wonderful tips and all the things I will need to succeed in the business world. Love it. Thank you so much for joining. I hope we see you next week, and please invite your other friends as well. It's really important that the more people get all this information that we're sharing. So thank you. And that's it for today. I'll see you all next week. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Thank you.
Ladies.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.